Hello and welcome to welcome everybody to the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location here in the heart of the great state of Colorado. My name is Nicholas Razo, and without further ado, we introduce our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez. Ray, give it up for the Hispanic Patriot Podcast.
All right. Hello, Colorado and America.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to a new edition of the Hispanic Patriot Podcast. We've got a very special guest tonight as we launch into the Colorado GOP chairman race, and we will have our first candidate interview tonight with Miss Darcy Schoening, who will be our guest for tonight's show. And you'll get to know her. And those of you who are voters out there will be able to garner some information to make your selection at the meeting on March 29th, which is my birthday.
Hey, look at that.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to talk real quick about something near and dear to our hearts, and that is the Tina Peters case. We call her the political prisoner in Colorado, thanks to Jenna Griswold, Jared Polis, and that very corrupt judge in Mesa County. So I got a brief clip we're going to play for you regarding that because it's new stuff, and I think it's great. Here we go. Yeah. So that just to clarify a little bit what he said at the beginning, she is not a what do you call? That we didn't get any sound on that.
Unfortunately, not, Hugo. If you want to play that one more time for the folks.
Oh, okay. Let's see here.
But to be honest, Hugo, political prisoner is absolutely right. I mean, we've discussed the Tina Peters case on here before, folks. Basically, this is a woman who's in jail for doing her job and raising an alarm when she was told to not raise the alarm. I guess, if Bavarians stormed the gates and they tried to bribe you and you said no, and you tried to inform people that they were opening the gates, then they're going to come for you if they try to take the house.
Let's try this one more time, see if we got some sound here.
Says it'll look at Colorado's prosecution of former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. The Republican was sentenced to 9 years for breaching her county's own voting systems in an attempt to prove voter fraud. The DOJ filed a statement of interest today. The filing says Peters' prosecution will be reviewed in a search for, quote, abuses of the criminal justice process. The filing calls her sentence exceptionally lengthy and points to her denial of bail while she appeals her sentence.
Yep. She didn't breach anything.
No, and it's so terrible that, any situation in which someone can't be let out of jail in order to argue their case, you've effectively crippled their case in a lot of ways.
Well, here's the deal.
Totally unfair.
Here's what's so screwy. Okay, here we have a Gold Star mom, okay, who has never, ever had any confrontation with the law in her life. No criminal record. And she gets sentenced, and there's an appeal process. Her attorney asked for her to remain free during her appeal, and the corrupt judge just flat out denied her with all the vitriol he could muster. So
it really shows the abuse that we have in our justice system, honestly.
Oh my God, that's just a understatement if I ever heard one.
Well, we need serious judicial and legal reform in this country, and Republican-led reform. We wouldn't trust the Democrats to change any laws on the books about this. But we need legal and judicial reform in this country, and we need it closer to our republic that we used to have. You know, these people, these judges, they often have situations where they are incentivized not to follow the Constitution and to not be lenient towards people who are clearly good citizens. Like, again, you give a child to the U.S. service, you know, a child in the ground for our military, I think you should be treated very differently. And I think that should reflect legally, because what kind of person goes through that? You know, heroes go through that. So we shouldn't do that to our heroes. Certainly not the mother of our heroes, you know?
Yep. So we want to stay tuned. There was a rally yesterday for Tina Peters. And from what I understand, Attorney General Pam Bondi has been tasked by President Trump to look into this case and see what we can do to get her, as a first step, to get her freed during her appeal. And then as a second step, to investigate the so-called investigators and see what violations, if any, had been committed by those in power, starting with Jenna Griswold and the prosecutor, the so-called Republican prosecutor in Mesa County.
Funny how that works, that a lot of these people in the judicial system that have been appointed by Republicans somehow turn out rotten in the end.
Yeah, well, if that guy's a Republican, I don't know what is a Republican, because that guy, you know, he wasted no time in jumping on the bandwagon.
Looked a little prepared, to be honest, a little too prepared, one might say.
And basically, he aligned himself with the worst of the worst secretaries of state in the history of Colorado, Jenna Griswold, the very corrupt one, and who, by the way, violated the same charge that they charged Tina Peters with times 64.
Yeah.
Times 64.
That's ridiculous right there.
Where is her jail time?
Well, actually, Hugo, you bring up a very valid point, actually. The fact that perhaps, and we often try to find the hand of God in these events. Why was someone like Tina allowed to go through this? Perhaps her suffering may lead the DOJ to investigate certain avenues that they wouldn't have before. Maybe this opens up some can of worms that maybe they shouldn't have opened by persecuting poor Tina. Because that's what people have to remember. Political persecution has a funny way of coming back to find you, not to be persecuted, but to face the justice that you denied other people.
Absolutely. And so we're going to be keeping a close eye on this. Hopefully the steps taken by the DOJ will, at the very least, to start with, result in Tina being freed and being able to go home and relax in her own home.
Where she deserves to be.
Yep, exactly. So
out by the pool, just like we are over here.
Prayers for Tina.
Yes, very much
and
so.
we'll definitely keep you updated on that case. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are now rolling into the first stage of the election process for the new Colorado GOP chair. Our current chairman, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately for me because I hate to see him leave, but Chairman Williams has made his statement that he will not seek re-election. He has not stated his reasons or why. Well, anybody with half a brain can surmise why, at least partially. There's some rumors out there that we're not going to talk about, but by the same token, we want to extend the Hispanic Patriot Podcast a great big thank you to Chairman Williams for what he has put up with over the last 2 years as our leader.
Put up with is putting it mildly.
And we wish him the very best in whatever future endeavors he's got on the horizon.
Absolutely.
Is he going away? No, sir. I know Dave Williams way too well to know or to say or even think that he is just going to go fade into the sunset. He's got a game plan. He hasn't shared it with anyone yet, but we will find out when he wants us to find out.
Absolutely. And I think he deserves a lot of time with his family. You know, he's a beautiful family
brand new
man.
baby.
A
Yeah.
brand new baby. Yeah. So there's a lot more important things in the world than politics. That's definitely for sure.
Yep. And then, so now we have a field of candidates that has emerged. One of which, the first one is Miss Darcy Schoening, who will be on with us just a few minutes. And then we have Lori Sain, who has been a legislator in the State House from Weld County. We've got Jeremy Goodall from El Paso County, good friend of ours. And we had a lot of fun at the RNC.
We absolutely did. Those who were there know what we're talking about. We'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we have Britta Horn from the other side, and Mr. Kevin McCarney from Mesa County. He is the former chair of Mesa County, who is recently rejected at his own reorganizational meeting, meaning he didn't get elected for anything. So I guess that decided he was going to go for state chair because he couldn't get elected in his own county.
I think we call that going for broke, is what we call that.
Makes sense to me. And there's rumors about a couple of other candidates. So that makes what, 4 that we know?
Man, what is this? The 2016 Republican primary?
Hey, look, I've been around this thing a long time, and this is not unusual for state chair races.
It's very true.
With all the turmoil we've had over the last 18 months, I'm shocked we don't have 10 or 15 candidates. So anyway.
Lord was merciful.
So we'll see what shakes out, but that's kind of where the field is right now. And just as a teaser for next week, we have Miss Lori Sain booked for our show next week. So stay tuned for the interview with Lori Sain next week. Now we're going to focus our attention on our guest for tonight, and that is Miss Darcy Schoening, who is a leading conservative voice in Colorado and currently serves as the Director of Special Initiatives for the Colorado Republican Party. Over the last 5 years, Darcy has spearheaded critical statewide initiatives, most prominently a prohibition on the medical transitioning of minors. She has also held numerous leadership roles, including chair of Moms for Liberty, El Paso County chapter. Under her leadership, the chapter became a powerful voice in policy and media, successfully pushing dozens of school boards statewide to opt out of invasive mental health screenings under HB 23-1003 and advocating for anti-mask and vaccine mandate policies. She is a monument trustee. Darcy has led efforts to block low-income subsidized housing projects and pushed for the removal of homeless encampments within city limits, prioritizing public safety and conservative governance. So her influence extends across multiple conservative organizations, having served on the boards of the Colorado Federation of Republican Women, Pikes Peak Firearms, Sunrise Republican Women, St. Peter HSNA, Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and the Palmer Lake Parks Commission. She was instrumental in securing the Colorado Republican Party's endorsement of President Trump in the 2024 primary, a historic move for the state party. Currently, Darcy serves on the boards of Colorado Hispanic Republicans and a Pikes Peak Area Colorado Charter School, remaining steadfast in her commitment to protecting children and shaping a future rooted in conservative values. So we will hear from Miss Darcy Schoening as we welcome her to the show. Darcy, are you there?
I'm here. Can you see me or hear me?
We need some lighting, darling.
It looks pretty dark, doesn't it?
Yes, we do. We need to get some lighting in the front.
I don't understand why this is so dark. Is that any better?
Not really. Do you have a Zoom light?
Yeah, it's on. I don't know
Oh.
why it's so dark right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the light's right on my face.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna in a minute. I'll have my son bring a light in here and I'll put it on my face. I don't know.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started because we have limited time. So
Yeah.
let's begin with having you introduce yourself to our audience and give a brief background of why you want this thankless job.
Well, you kind of already explored some of that. First of all, thank you, Hugo and Nick, for having me. I'm excited to be here. You guys are so important to me and so important to Colorado. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate
that. And welcome. We're glad to have you on.
Thanks. This is my first time on the show. So, so I'm Darcy Schoening. I'm the current director of special initiatives for the Colorado GOP. And what that means, basically in a nutshell, is that I write policies for local school boards, city councils, and county commissions to protect them from POLIS and the overreaching state government. And I've been spending the last several years of my career pushing policies out to localities that strengthen them and protect their families from the horrible laws coming down. So I also ran a ballot initiative last year called Let Kids Be Kids, which was to make a felony the mutilation or sterilization of children in Colorado. So I have been very busy protecting our kids, and education's a big deal to me. I will get to that in a little bit and tell you what I've been working on as far as my candidacy goes in education. But I have previously served as the chair of Moms for Liberty. I'm no longer a monument trustee. My term did end on Monument City Council, so no longer serving there. But as you know, I do serve on Colorado Hispanic Republicans, which is a great board to serve on. I am Hispanic, so my mother is 100% Mexican. My grandparents on her side, they immigrated here from Mexico City. So my mother is the first generation here. Unfortunately, she's the youngest in her family. She's actually on the phone with my daughter right now, but she's the youngest in her family. So I like to joke that my aunts who were older, they all know how to make tamales and they speak Spanish. And then by the time they got to my mom just picks up Taco Bell for us, and she doesn't even know a lick of Spanish. So I kind of
God bless that Americanism, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I kind of got the short end of the stick there, but that's okay. She's great. So
but now you just have to spend more time with the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. You know what I mean? Exactly. Any dirt we have in one place, we make up in another.
Darcy, just let me interrupt real quick because something came to mind. Try turning off your light and let's see if the camera may be compensating for the extra light.
Oh, yeah.
Is that better?
That's significantly better, actually.
Yeah, it's a little better, but you still need some side or front lighting.
But it is better. It is absolutely better, though.
Okay, let me turn that light off then.
Beautiful.
And then Dexter, here, light this for me. Thank you.
Okay, so
don't anyone tell people I'm giving my kids permission to light candles and fires.
No, I mean, to be honest, it's like the fact that your child even comes in and is able to help you like that. A lot of times, and I've seen it growing up, parents really make their children useless, I think partially on purpose. So, I mean, I can attest to this. I have seen Darcy's kids. These kids are not only adorable and polite, but they're also useful. How amazing that is, huh?
They're good. They're such good kids. So
well,
they're a large part of why I do what I do. I want to make sure that I leave the state in a better place for them.
You read my mind. All right, we ready?
All right. So let's start with this first question that we've come up with. What are your qualifications for the position of chair of the Colorado GOP, and what distinguishes you from the other candidates?
Well, my qualifications for chair of the GOP, I mean, they range from literally just being a people person to my most important one quality, right, is to be a doer. Because you could say all the right things and you can have all the right values, right, Hugo? But if you're not out knocking on doors and you're not willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears every single day that it takes to get Republicans elected and to take those hits by the media and to put in that day after day hard work, then you can't be chair. To turn Colorado back red again, it's going to take somebody that is willing to take every phone call, do every piece of donor outreach, be at every Lincoln Day dinner, and somebody who is willing to say, you know what, I'm smart enough to know that I'm not the smartest person in the room. We're a big organization and we need all hands on deck to turn this thing around. So I think we just need doers who know that the best way to do this is with everybody working together.
Okay. Nick, you had a question?
Absolutely. Well, I think that a huge part of what we've been saying here on the Hispanic Patriot Podcast and for quite a long time now, Hugo has been shouting this from the rooftops for a long time. But we here at the Hispanic Patriot Podcast have been talking a lot about the fact that Hispanic voters are becoming the largest voting demographic in the country, that the Republican Party has momentum with Hispanic voters. So given that you have your heritage in our community and everything like that, what is your plan or interest in bringing Hispanics who are not yet Republicans into the Republican Party?
Sure. So you know what? It's about meeting them where they're at, Nick. We know that Hispanic voters, I mean, let's be honest, they're not much different than any other voter, right? So what's the difference between me and you or my neighbor who their heritage is Irish or whatever it may be? The difference is that Hispanic voters tend to be they tend to lean conservative. They tend to be religious. They tend to be family oriented. So those are, they're small differences, but they're big enough that separates us from the Democrat Party, right? But what we really need to be doing is working on our localities. I can't stress that enough. Not just getting local electeds elected, but also passing those policies, making sure that conservative cities like Colorado Springs, like Monument, like Castle Rock, that we're showing independence, we're showing the Hispanic community, the Black community, hey, this is what it looks like to be a Republican. This is what our lives are like. This is what our communities are like. They're safer, they're cleaner. Our kids have better test scores, right? So it's not about running out into the streets and yelling about our Second Amendment rights and doing all those things. And we can do that, sure. But it's showing people, look, if you vote Republican, you're going to have a better life. Your business is going to be better and your family is going to be better. And we just have to continue to show the Hispanic community that that's what it means to be a Republican.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to that.
Please, Hugo.
There are some folks out there in our party here in Colorado, because I've encountered them, who claim that any efforts by the Republican Party to try to attract Hispanic voters is playing, what do you call it?
Identity politics?
Identity politics. That's what that's not what identity politics is, but that's what they think it is. And so how would you answer someone who would make that assertion?
You know what? At the end of the day, we're not Democrats. I don't care what the term is or what makes people feel uncomfortable or what, that was my cat, actually. Or, I'm sorry. It's like chaos over here today. Life of a mom, right? So it doesn't, none of that matters. What matters at the end of the day, Hugo, is winning. Is reclaiming those seats, is taking Colorado back. I've had people tell me that they don't like the term ballot harvesting. So they don't want to participate in that activity. You know what? This isn't about people's feelings. I'm sorry that they feel that way. At the end of the day, this is about winning at all costs. And those words just don't matter.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Just get the voters.
I've been shouting from the rooftop. As you know, I served 10 years as chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. And I've been shouting it since I arrived in Colorado that Hispanics were the key for this state party to grow the base and to start winning elections again. And I stand by that. The statistics are there. There's over 300,000 unregistered and unvoting eligible Hispanic voters in this state.
Yeah.
And that's a travesty, in my opinion. So the party needs to make a strong effort to attract those, message to them, and show them that they're welcome in this party, because on the street, that's one of the biggest things that you hear from Hispanic voters when you ask them, you live a conservative life, but you're not voting with those that share your values, meaning the Republican Party. And what they typically will say is, we don't feel welcome in the party. So I think that's a shame on the party if that's the case. So
yeah, no, I totally agree.
Okay. So it has been said that this is going to be a very contentious party race. That's an understatement. What are your top 3 priorities if elected? Give a brief explanation for each.
Sure. So my top 3 priorities, let's say it's day 1. Let's say I'm elected tonight and my job starts tomorrow. So on day 1, data, resources, and infrastructure. We do not have an infrastructure. When you compare what we have going on to the Democrat Party, we're decades behind. We are so far behind, and we cannot reclaim seats. We cannot reclaim Colorado without accurate, on-point data and processes that we can replicate from cycle to cycle. You know, I met a guy the other day who was doing some computer work at a local office, and he knew that I worked for the Colorado GOP, and he goes, hey, I got a funny story for you. A couple years ago, when the new administration was about to come in, he goes, I don't really know how that works, but the old ladies, they were about to be done at the office, the state GOP office, and they called me and they said, hey, can you come in and basically just undo everything you've been doing the last couple of years by way of the cloud, by way of data, and by way of basically there was a network drive in the office. And he's like, why? And they're like, well, we can't leave all this stuff for the next administration. We've got to gut it. Oh, and I'm like, wait, are you serious? Now, we knew that was going on, right? But here's this guy. This was like 5 days ago. Here's this guy standing 3 feet from my face telling me that he was paid to do it. And he has no reason to lie. He owns an IT company.
Wow. That's a big shocker. That is some breaking news right there.
It's crazy. Actually, we should get him on a show.
We'd love to have him.
Yeah. Send me his contact info.
I will.
I will have him on.
But I'll find him. We'll do a special edition. That is amazing.
It's disgusting, right?
Really, it is.
That told me that it's not just enough to build an infrastructure, Nick, and it's not just enough to have that data. This has to be put on our servers in a way where it's basically we're safeguarded from ourselves. How sad is that? So I've got to build an infrastructure that nobody can destroy for future generations. Like, we're working for Colorado, not ourselves. We're working for my kids and your kids. So this has to work tomorrow, and it has to work 10 years from now.
Okay.
Very true.
Yeah. So I'm going to be working really hard on that. And then I've created what I call the Build Our Benches Initiative, Bob, B-O-B. And what that is on my website, it'll go live tonight. Part of this is I have a candidate recruitment tool. So we're recruiting candidates early and aggressively. And then we're working with those candidates leading up to their election cycles. So I hear a lot of candidates talking about, we've got to win in 2026. We've got to win in 2026. What are they forgetting? They're forgetting 2025. We have like 200 school board seats up in November, and we need to maintain control or take control in dozens of districts across the state. So my Bob initiative, we have now reached about $180,000 in donor pledges, and we're only in March. So between now and November, I hope to really, really grow that to get the best school board candidates in there. And then what does that do? It gives our donors and our volunteers, our activists, it gives them confidence as well. So going into the 2026 elections, we're going to have a robust fundraising outreach. We're going to have donors that are excited to give again, candidates that have the data, support, and resources they need. And we're going to be moving on all cylinders like a GOP should.
Okay.
And my third most important initiative is just the overarching goal of children education, protecting our kids. When we talk about unity and when we talk about being a party, sadly, it seems like it's hard for us to agree on anything. But if we can agree on the simple things, I think the simplest thing we can agree on, right, is that our children have to be off the table. You can't come for our children. You can't put tranny porn in the schools. We can't be having these crazy surgeries, these pronoun bills. So we have to, as a party, start to really have the hard talks about what's going on in our schools. What does education look like in 10 years? We were asleep at the wheel, and we learned during COVID that the communists, the teachers' unions have been indoctrinating our kids for decades. And this is going to be a serious problem that none of us are talking about yet, right? Because look how many little communists are in the 30-year-old generation, the Gen Z. Like, what does my kids' generation look like? What are we going to be having to deal with? I mean, we had a legislator last cycle that was standing on the House floor screaming for Palestine and letting rioters run through the Capitol. So we have got to be focused on our schools, because we could be out screaming about the Second Amendment and screaming about our rights all we want. But if the system is raising millions more little communists who are going to shred the Constitution the second they're in power, it's all meaningless.
That's very true. You got to win the future. That's the law of nature.
Yeah.
In that spirit, big shout out to all of those at the D11 school board meeting going on right now, actually. Moms for Liberty, Young Republicans, all those people out there, we want to give a big shout out. Our prayers are with them. We hope that they can defeat the communists at the school level, as you just talked about.
Definitely. Yeah, we really need to be focused on our schools. So thanks to Moms for Liberty, Christy Davis, everyone who's out fighting for our kids. For those of you who don't know, I was in Durango a couple weeks ago standing for the kids out there. Durango 9R schools last month voted to sanction the trans flag and the BLM flag as protected speech.
Never heard about that.
Which is just heinous. I mean, but if this were 2 years ago, Hugo, we wouldn't have, I would just be banging my head against a wall looking for more attorneys. But guess what? Now we have President Trump behind us. So whereas a couple of years ago, it was just loss, lawsuit. Now we're able to say, hey, guess what? President Trump is looking at your federal funding. President Trump is looking into the Denver trans bathrooms. President Trump is looking into all kinds of things in Colorado. Look, Pam Bondi's now looking into the Tina Peters corruption case. Yep. So we now are not hopeless out here. We may be in a blue state, but we have hope that we haven't seen in Colorado, I think, in decades. So we're going to get a lot done over these next 4 years. And I'm excited to be Colorado's next chair, because I know that, listen, if I can have wins and I can make these accomplishments in a blue state with a blue federal government and still have wins, then imagine what I can do with all these Republicans and President Trump.
Okay. So the next question is going to be a question about two particular issues currently within the state party. And so I am personally I've made the decision to personally vet the candidates on this particular issue, and that is the two lawsuits that the state party is involved with at the moment. One being the open primaries challenge suit that is ongoing, and the other is where 3 individuals are being sued for their participation in the draining of valuable party funds last summer in their attempted removal of duly elected party officers. So, what is your position on those 2 lawsuits? Will you, if elected, continue one or both of those lawsuits?
Good questions. So on the open primaries lawsuit, of course, 100%. Open primaries were the single most catastrophic event ever for Colorado politics. As Republicans, we ought to be able to know that our vote counts, and it doesn't count. My vote doesn't count when there's a Democrat right behind me getting ready to cast a vote that negates mine. In the 75% threshold it's unconstitutional. So we've got to keep up that lawsuit. I also have been working with the other side. I've met with some Democrats who have an interest in helping with some legislation reform. They also, we're worlds apart, right? But the one thing that their party hates, just like us, is huge wealthy donors buying their elections. They don't want that either. So there is some hope that we could potentially work with the devil to get this accomplished. So I've been working on that as well. So I will continue the open primary lawsuit. And then to answer your question about the lawsuit against the 3 individuals, I'm sure you saw that I openly and willingly served Ms. Horn with her lawsuit last week on the Jeff and Bill show. She had been evading service and I went ahead and served it. There are several reasons that I served that. One is because it's the right thing to do. And to that end, I've been working for the Colorado GOP for a couple of years now. One of my duties is to fundraise. It's to help raise money from the donors to get candidates elected and to cover basic operations of the Colorado GOP. It's not so that those who are seeking positions of leadership can squander funds at will for legal battles. And there has to be some end there. I don't care who's doing it, but we can't have a party when we're suing each other left and right. I mean, where does it end? Because
I call it accountability.
Right.
I've been, here in Colorado since 1999, and I've seen some really weird stuff in the last 25 years. But last summer's attempt to remove party officers was the epitome of what I call arrogance and chutzpah. And that it cannot be left unchallenged, and
No.
and they have to have accountability. But
No.
I want to backtrack real quick because we're kind of running on time. But I want to backtrack to the open primaries thing. I think you need to know. I heard on another radio show locally, and I'll tell you who it is after the show. But they flat out came out and accused you of stating that you were, in fact, against the open primaries lawsuit and that you were in favor of open primaries.
So I've never said. Go ahead.
I didn't believe it, but that's I'm just telling you.
So for the record, folks, we have set the record straight here on Hispanic Patriot Podcast. You all heard it from Darcy's own lips. So that's what we do here. That's what we say, the truth and nothing but the truth.
That's right. And that show is a purveyor of lies. Let me just tell you that. So anyway, okay. So we've covered that. Nick, do you have one other quick question you want to throw out?
I would actually, yes. In fact, so we talked about what you want to do as chairwoman. We've talked about your positions on the major issues that are facing the party. But in terms of getting there, because of course we have to win the elections, of course, what is your biggest challenge to winning this position?
That's an interesting question.
I'm glad you think so.
There's in any election, there's a lot of challenges, like every day just brings little micro challenges and
that's when you're not running for anything.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the problems that happen when you are.
Yeah. And then just larger, overarching questions for the campaign. So I would say that one of my biggest challenges has been kind of distinguishing myself as an independent Colorado activist Republican figure. I am often lumped under the umbrella of the Colorado GOP leadership, which is, they've done a great job. They've been great officers. But I'm not one of the officers. And so a lot of the things that have transpired over the last 2 years, good or bad, have been kind of tacked onto me. And that was not my role in the organization. So my role focused on policy initiatives, candidates. I did lead the candidate initiative last cycle. But yeah, that's been a huge challenge, just kind of distinguishing myself as a thoughtful, independent person separate from the three officers. But I would like to think that over the last several weeks, as people have kind of heard me out more and more talking, and they've been able to ask those hard questions about, how do you feel about this versus how does Dave feel or how does Hope feel? Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. But I think I've made it very clear that I have been a leader now for several months. And the reason I jumped in is because I'm ready to kick this up to the next level in the Trump era. And with your guys' help, with the voters' help, I will be the strongest leader that this GOP has ever seen.
Well, to that, I would only say even married couples don't agree 100% of the time. I can attest to that. But look, there's rumors and there's truth, okay? And in these types of races, especially as contentious as things are within the party, there are several factions. There are several individuals who claim this or that about their opponent or the other. My interest personally is to vet all the candidates, to have them speak to the people, and especially, of course, to those who will be voting on March 29th. And let them make their case. And if somebody has anything they want to present that is nefarious, they'd better come with proof. They'd better come with something to back it up, or they won't get away with it on this show. I'll tell you that. And I will stand by anybody that's dancing with integrity, so to speak. And that, to me, is the most important part, regardless of whether we agree on a particular issue or policy. I think integrity has to be at the top of the list for all the candidates. I think there's a good group of candidates, and then there's some dubious ones, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. And by the way, I do have a vote on the 29th. So as a newly elected vice chair of Denver County,
I believe I do as well, as bonus member, if I'm not mistaken.
And of course Nick does. Yes. I was going to let you say it, and I wouldn't.
Well, that's why I've said it. But no, Hugo, I love what you're saying here, honestly, because it's so true. It's so because we always want to be impartial here on the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, and we always promise to be. No matter what personal connection, professional connection we might have to somebody, we as Republicans believe that there are different levels to this game. And one of the biggest levels you have to play as is the unbiased party. We are an unbiased party in the Republican Party. We really are, because we believe that truth defeats whatever crazy little thing that we can come up in our heads. So when we talk with candidates, we want to be tough, and we want to make sure that we give you guys the truest character that you'll be seeing in these people. So Darcy, I actually did have one question. If we have time for one more question.
One more, I think.
Very quick question. So Darcy, you are all over the state. Definitely. I think we can say that. You work very hard. You drive to Durango and back in a night. You know what I mean? I mean, we've had that story and everything. So given that you've been all over the state, why is it, I would say, that somebody from different parts of the state, different economic backgrounds, as we talked about, voters might be similar, but they're also very different. What unites them in you as chairwoman?
Well, like you just said, you see me all around the state. So, I got a lovely endorsement today from Mr. Jerry White out in Chaffee County. I didn't even ask him for it. And I woke up to this beautiful 2-page email about how he sees me out fighting and how I put in the work. And it just summed it up perfectly. If you guys haven't seen it, you can find, anyone listening can find it on my website, Darcy.
We will have links in the comments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I did see the one from Mr. Vanderjagt, which was I know Grant, and
oh yeah,
I think that's an amazing endorsement.
And we've interviewed his wife before as well. As we mentioned before, any interviews previous times we have mentioned will be in the description.
Thank you. And so, it doesn't matter who, where somebody is. It's just people see that I have integrity and they see that I'm out fighting and they see that I'm not going to back down. I mean, people were laughing about it when I was doing some media earlier today. I was at D11 last year and some liberal activist punched me in the face.
Oh no.
And Joel Sorensen was there and he's like, "You just got punched in the face." And I was like, that means we're doing things exactly right, Joel.
That's ridiculous.
So look at that. So Darcy Schoening, everybody, taking a punch for you.
Yeah.
So
my goodness.
I would classify Darcy as the Energizer Bunny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
she's all over the place. Yeah.
But that answers your question, right? That's what resonates with people is just that the doer, being a doer, being willing to put in the work, knock on the doors, cure the ballots, drive around the state and take the hits from the media.
All right.
And from our opposition, apparently.
One final comment from you to the voters out there. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for all you guys do. Thank you for what you do for the state of Colorado. I'm so excited to be running for chair. As you guys know, you've been watching me, as I said, put in the work. I'm ready to kick this up to the next level. Go to my website, watch my videos. And look, if you've still got questions, if I haven't convinced you with my hard work, just text me on my cell phone. We'll go have a cup of coffee. But I can assure you that I am the best candidate to lead the Colorado GOP in this Trump era. I'm excited to do it, and I can't wait. So thank you all, and thank you, Hugo, and thank you, Nick.
All right.
Boy, strong words and strong promises, ma'am.
Thank you, Darcy, for coming on the show, and we wish you the best on the campaign trail. And
thanks, guys.
We'll see you next week at the forum.
Good night. Yep, can't wait. Thank you
again. Good night. Thank you. All right, that was Ms. Darcy Schoening, candidate for chair. As we mentioned earlier, we hope we got some good information. We apologize for the technical difficulty in the lighting, but
if it really bothers you that much, just listen to it. You know what I mean, folks?
Just
the
listen to the audio.
Is the information. The important thing is the information.
Yeah. But at the same time, what we're looking at here is a contentious race. There's no two ways about it. There will be some ne'er-do-wells, as I call them, that will be showing up at these meetings. I believe that the meeting is going to be highly controlled with regards to attendance. And my hope, I can't speak officially, but my personal hope would be that only voting members would be allowed into the venue, and others can watch it on a live stream or whatever. But I would not let the opposition pack the house with a bunch of rabble-rousers that are there to disrupt things, kind of like what Democrats do at some of these places where they you've seen all these hearings where they wait about 5 minutes and they start up.
Well, sometimes it's actually Democrat congressmen themselves who did it. As we all want to take a quick mention of Representative Caveman, I think his name was Representative Caveman.
Don't get ahead of yourself. We're gonna roll in. I was gonna roll into the address last night because that was just Hilarious.
I'm sorry, everybody. I had to tease it out. It was building up inside of me, and I just had to show you guys. But before we do that, guys, I want to tell everybody that we're really happy that we're able to have these interviews. But I want to stress something to our viewers, that the only reason we're able to book these people who are state party officers or aspire to be congressmen, all these people, is because of your support. The fact we can say that we have such a big audience, such a beautiful, lovely audience for them to talk to. So when you share Hispanic Patriot Podcast, you grow our ability to book bigger and better people, as well as the big, better people that we have right now. And so like, comment, subscribe, make sure you share us everywhere that Hispanic Patriot can be shared, and you will see us go farther, and you will come along with us. So we appreciate all of you.
Yep. So anyway, last night, for those of you that either were on another planet and didn't watch it, we had the presidential address to the joint Congress and by President Trump, and it wasn't what they call a State of the Union. They just recall it an initial address to the union, to the members of Congress. And President Trump, I think, did a magnificent job. He set the record for the length of the speech, but I think that was just pure torture for the Democrats who sat on their hands the entire time.
No, they had their little ping pong rackets with them. Their little ping pong rackets. That was the worst thing. I've been watching politics my whole life, and so has Hugo. Both of us combined, we've never seen that kind of cringe.
Yeah. So the president began, and of course, right away, the guy we call the caveman, Mr. Al Green, not the singer, not to be confused with the famous singer. This guy couldn't sing his way out of a bathtub, I think, but unfortunately, he looks like a caveman. So there was a meme I saw somewhere and says, "So easy a caveman can do it," and they showed his face. And so
I actually saw that from our friend Raymond Garcia, who I will shout out, knows how to do that look right. Want to shout that out there for Ray real quick.
So he jumps up and starts disrupting the meeting and thinks that he's going to get away with it. And immediately Speaker Johnson stood up and said, "The House will come to order. There will be no disruptions." He wouldn't sit down. So he directed the sergeant at arms, and he pre-warned him. He said he was going to have the sergeant at arms remove him.
He warned him.
So it wasn't like he wasn't warned. He's up there shaking his stick at the president. And,
you have no mandate. He has no. That's what he was saying over and over again. It's like, Mr. Allen, I think we do. It's called the last election that you guys got shellacked at. I think we do have a mandate.
It's called a landslide. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's the only time I've ever seen a member of Congress removed during a presidential address.
Same here.
I could be wrong. Yeah. I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but
not so publicly and not on such an important occasion. No, you are absolutely correct about that. I look back into it, and no, this is kind of unprecedented for our lifetime. It's happened before, just not anytime recently.
But I think the most despicable thing to me was the times when the president was talking about individuals, for example, the family of Laken Riley, who was brutally murdered. These Democrats didn't even have the respect to stand for them. They sat there and just glared at the president and glared at the family, including the other family who lost a loved one, and the young man who had fought brain cancer.
And the family of Corey Comparatori as well.
Yes, these are all of those. Those were touching moments. Those were non-political moments. Those were,
we used to have those. Remember when we used to have those?
Why wouldn't you be able to stand up and honor fellow Americans who had perished and their families? That's, to me, is just the most despicable thing I've ever seen. And I don't ever want to hear the word decorum come out of the mouth of a Democrat ever again.
No, absolutely. Or any of the rhinos that tried to make Trump not happen. I mean, we used to have apolitical moments in this country. We used to have times where we could get together. We used to have times where agreement meant that we were showing our character, not our support for the opposition. So we've completely forgotten about this. This is our antisocial nature in the modern world coming out. So we need to be out there. We need to be out there talking to people. We can't just sit online. We can't just sit with our own group of people. We have to get out there and learn how to interact with the opposition, because that's how we turn them into our voters. That's how we hollow out the Democrat base and turn them into the Republicans that are waiting in the Black community and the Hispanic community among young people. That's how we do it. We don't do it acting like these Democrats, sitting down with grumpy faces as American heroes stand up and receive applause from Republicans.
Yeah, that was just disgusting, despicable. I can't even find the words, and I want to keep it clean for the show. But I can tell you this, my blood was boiling, and, I'm glad that they put on that display, because I think they lost even more credibility.
They have.
Their party is crumbling, and it's because of people like that.
It is, and that's why I tell people all the time, if you're a Democrat, consider defecting. Consider becoming a Republican, because your party will never change. It will never change. Our Republican principles will never change, but it's the kind of life we want.
Not as long as the Marxists are in charge. That's for sure.
And that's the problem is that, and it's interesting because what Marxists call social democrats? When they're not extreme enough, they call them social fascists. I swear, that's what they call them. That's what they do to shame them into becoming communists. So when somebody calls you a racist, fascist, Nazi, misogynist, blah, 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 they're just trying to change your position. They're trying to pressure you to change your opinions and beliefs by effectively bullying you. That is what communism has always been. That's what communists have always done. And a little Hispanic flavor, the founding members, I don't know if you know this, Hugo, actually, the founding members of the Spanish Psychological Association interviewed communist fighters during the Spanish Civil War. And they concluded that communism was a form of mental illness brought about by extreme circumstances involving secularized religious politics. They basically make Marx their god in their mind. That is what Spanish psychologists proved during the Spanish Civil War. Don't know if you know that, but now you do.
That's about right. So
we've been knowing it for a long time.
We want to make sure that we get this in for the last part of this. What's it? Next week, the latter part of next week, the Colorado Hispanic Republicans have they're sponsoring a forum for GOP
yes, they are. Yes,
state
we
chair.
Are. And
as of right now, I have it at 4 candidates attending. So our good friend Adam Dorito will be the moderator.
Yes, and you can see his interview as well in the description.
It's in fact, let me put this up on the screen real quick, just so people, if they want to try to catch the QR code, can do so.
Yes, please. We want everybody to attend, all of our viewers to attend. You get to meet us, so that'll be very awesome. And you
so
can
if
see
you
right
scan
here.
this QR code, and we'll leave it up here for just a minute, you can sign up. It's $10. If you're a senior, you could go for $5. So there you go. It's in Sedalia.
And it helps us put these things on, so thank you.
At the Wide Open Salute in Sedalia, and this is going to be a packed house, so I recommend that you sign up quick.
Yeah, you're going to want to do this early, folks. Do not wait on this.
Yep. So the two main candidates originally were Darcy and Britta, but of course they've added Kevin McCarney, Lori Sane, and Jeremy Goodall. So actually, there's 5. There's 5 right now. So we'll see what shakes out. But as a veteran of these events, they're always good. It's been said that CHR always puts on the best forums, hands down, and we've won pretty much recognition throughout the state for that accolade. So. Let's go ahead and make sure that we pack the house and support your favorite candidate and let the chips fall where they may.
And come out and meet us, folks. You know you want to do that.
Yeah. We will be there.
We will be there.
The
And it will
Hispanic
be a lot of
Patriot
good time.
dynamic duo will be there.
The Millennial and the Boomer, the Boomer and the Millennial, out here giving names and giving interviews, providing you the hard facts and information.
All right. We'd be happy to shake your hand. And
if you want to buy us a drink, that'd be nice. So
yeah, that'd be good.
But in that spirit, guys, if you are so inclined, we do have our website that will be in the description as always. Every donation you make helps us look better and more professional. It allows us to get into the places to give you the information. It allows us to flow where we need to and let the truth flow on with us. And so we appreciate
Don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and
hit all the buttons.
And then donate till it hurts. No, I'm kidding.
It feels good.
Every little bit helps. Just if you like the show, give us some feedback, give us some love, and help us to grow. So we thank
really
you. We're out of time now for tonight's show. And
it ain't so, Hugo.
It's time flies when you're having fun.
And
the show tonight. We hope you enjoyed the interview, and
look forward to more. The next one.
If you didn't catch it live, you can catch it on our platforms: YouTube, Facebook, X, and Rumble. Thank you again. God bless you. God bless America, and we are out.
God bless America.